Ooh, this was too good. Scott Reid had an absolute meltdown in a heated exchange with Kory Teneycke. This pitiful, whining, soy-filled mocha latte Scotty boy just can't deal with facts. The topic of conversation is about the notwithstanding clause and how Scott just can't seem to understand that places like Alberta don't want the federal government forcing men back into women's sports or pornography being shown to our children in schools. Got it. If you enjoy my content, please hit that like button so I can reach more of you in Canada.
Long-standing debate over the use of the notwithstanding clause. The federal government has very specific things that they would like the Supreme Court to weigh in on vis-a-vis the Bill 21 case, but it has ignited some backlash from premiers, more specifically in this instance, Doug Ford. Why do you think that is, and who do you think's in the right?
Well, I think the federal government is absolutely in the right to place questions, to ask the court for a little bit of guidance and perhaps even some narrowness with respect to the use of Section 33. The notwithstanding clause is in the Constitution, but a right is a right is a right unless Doug Ford or Danielle Smith disagree with it, unless the government in Quebec doesn't like the fact that you're wearing a Christian cross or a yarmulke or a hijab. Sorry. It is legitimate for the federal government to say, look, if you are going to use this power in a blanket way, trampling people's individual rights and robbing them of recourse to the courts, well, then it's reasonable to ask whether that ought to be used. That extraordinary power ought to be used by governments in some sort of prescribed way. Surely it should be used in only the most narrow of circumstances, only after meeting the highest of thresholds. Those are the questions the government's putting to the federal court, to the Supreme Court, and thank God they are. Because, you know, at a time when we see Donald Trump abusing the power of office, it is a reasonable thing to ask whether we want to fall into the trap of pure majoritarianism where governments are able to just walk past people's rights without recourse of any kind. This is a healthy debate to have in a democratic society. And I think the cavalier attitude that you get from the likes of Doug Ford is troubling. We're talking about people's individual rights and government's ability to ignore that.
My instinct tells me Kory might fall on the other side of that debate. Over to you, Kory.
Well, as inconvenient as it is for federal liberals to acknowledge, without a Section 33, there would be no charter. There would be no charter. And the thought that you can change the Constitution without actually going through a constitutional amendment is completely undemocratic. It's completely wrong. And look, there's a lot of things that different premiers disagree on. This is one that I think there's almost universal agreement on, that Section 33 is there for an important reason. And I'll point out an example that's different, but very recent. To get rid of bike lanes that have been in place for 4 months in Toronto, you had a court say that was a charter right to have a bike lane. Are you kidding me? If the courts were more responsible in their rulings, you would see less appetite on the part of provincial premiers to use Section 33. So there's a problem for sure. It's a problem in the judiciary. And the solution to judicial activism is not more judicial activism. If the Liberals want to change the Constitution, go ahead and change it. I dare you to. I don't think you're going to be successful in getting rid of it.
Change the Constitution.
Well, hold on. Let Kory finish. Scott, I'll get you back, and I'll get Kathleen too. Go ahead, Kory. Sorry.
Yeah, look, you know, if you want to actually change limit the use of Section 33, change the Constitution, put it in there. Don't ask unelected judge to go in and do it, especially when you've seen judges run roughshod over the rights of legislatures on things as routine as removing a bike lane, for gosh sakes.
Scott, go for it, and then I'll get Kathleen.
No one is talking about altering Section 33. It is entirely established in jurisprudence that you might have some discussion about what the tests are for the application of such a sweeping power, particularly when you have governments like Doug Ford saying, for 5 years, we're just going to blanket trample people's rights and give them no recourse to courts.
This
is a matter of interpretation and application. And, you know, to suggest that the federal government is trying to reopen the Constitution, that is false, misleading, and it's just this clear, classic small c conservative argument, which is we should not have had a charter and we should not protect people's individual rights from the majority in the first
Nonsense.
place.
Okay, Kory, go,
Nonsense.
and then I promise the last word is
That,
Kathleen.
that is total nonsense. There is not blanket application of the charter going on. But I'll tell you, I'll make one other point, and this is on the politics of this. You know, one of the most obvious dance partners for the Carney minority government is going to be the Bloc Québécois. They're opening up a culture fight around this. They're opening up a fight with every provincial government, virtually. They're uniting, Quebec and Alberta and Ontario, and from coast to coast, provinces are going to be united in opposition to this. And what? So a handful of people who are charter zealots can pump their fist in the air. Well, I'm not sure that that's in keeping with the mood of the country right now. Sorry to say.
I heard a lot of conservatives arguing that the use of Emergency Powers Act ought to be quite constrained and narrowed during the convoy protests.
Okay, last word to Kathleen. Split the. I got to give Kathleen the floor, guys. Thank you.
I mean, as you can see, it's really the constant fight between conservatives and liberals around the idea of who should be in charge: people, politicians, or the courts, right? And that fight has been going on for some time. But I actually think what the liberals are asking for this.
All right, shut the hell up, Kathleen. I can't even listen to you anymore. There's not really much to say. Kory handled himself like a man, and Scotty boy acted like a victim. Typical liberal logic. Guaranteed, if this were a conservative government, Scott would be up there hand in hand with the liberals, championing the charter and its integrity and how it should be upheld. But no, people like this moron will continue to perpetuate liberal propaganda in order to seem like he's being virtuous. I swear, more and more every day, our country inches closer to full-blown communism. All right, fuckers. Feed me your bugs, give me your shots, and send me to avian flu camp. Don't worry, I'll own nothing and I'll be happy. Who needs a charter anyway? Just tear it up and throw it away. Liberals seem to have full reign on how and when they choose to use it, but when conservatives want to invoke our rights according to the charter, it's problematic. I see. Anyway, that's all I got. I just wanted to share this pathetic mealworm crying like a baby.